He chose the ugly sister and the shocking truth that haunts him forever. In a small town where secrets carried the weight of shadows, a choice was made that would echo through time. The night air was thick with tension, the kind that curled in your chest and made you shiver. With a flick of the wrist, David had cast his lot, picking the most unexpected among the sisters: Edna, the one everyone labeled as the ugly duckling. But there was more beneath her rough edges, something dark and enticing that sparked intrigue. The townsfolk whispered, their words heavy with judgment. "What's wrong with him? Why her?" Eyes darted, curious yet cautious, as if they'd stumbled upon a crime unfolding. Edna's skin bore the scars of rejection, her hair a wild tangle that defied the order of beauty. But was there a reason they overlooked? The glint in Edna's eyes suggested secrets buried deep, something only David dared to uncover. Each time he caught her gaze, a ripple of electricity coursed between them. She smiled, a flash of teeth that sent shivers down his spine. It was both an invitation and a warning. As laughter swirled among their friends, David felt a tug, an irresistible pull toward her mysterious world. Rumors twisted and turned around them, something whispered of an old family curse, the kind that sent chills skittering over spines. But it went deeper. The night of the choice, as shadows danced around the flickering firelight, David noticed the way the flames played tricks on Edna's face. With every crackle, her features shifted, revealing a beauty that flickered before vanishing. It played with his mind, igniting a flame of obsession. Was he drawn to her simplicity? Or was he entangled in something far more sinister? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The deeper they ventured together into the heart of the night, the more palpable the tension grew. An echo of footsteps followed behind them, never visible, but always felt. It was as if the town was holding its breath, waiting for secrets to spill like blood on stone. Just as David was about to uncover the depths of Edna's mysterious charm, a piercing scream shattered the air, sending shockwaves through the crowd. Shadows shifted, and every face turned in horror, eyes wide with truth and fear. What lay behind Edna's smile? What darkness curled in the corner of her heart? Would David survive the very choice he thought would bring him closer to her? The night was just beginning, and the shocking truth was lurking. The scream echoed like a gunshot, slicing through the humid air. David jolted, adrenaline racing through his veins. The weight of the night shifted with that one piercing sound. He spun around, every instinct screaming for clarity amid the chaos. The crowd erupted into chaos, the laughter snuffed out, replaced by fear. Eyes darted everywhere, but no one had the courage to approach Edna. She stood there, shock draping her like a cloak, eyes wide but unfocused, almost as if she were staring into the abyss. David's heart thundered. What did she know? What secret lingered in those depths? "Edna," he called, his voice strained, desperate to reach her. But his words seemed to dissolve in the dense fog of panic swirling around them. The townsfolk murmured. Words danced on their lips, a symphony of fear and judgment. "It's her fault. Something about her isn't right." David's blood boiled. How could they turn on her like this? The accusation slithered through the air, toxic and corrosive. David took a step closer, his gaze locked on Edna. That glimmer in her eyes now flickered dangerously, revealing a storm brewing just beneath the surface. Something about her was different, something darker. Shadows deepened, wrapped around her like a second skin, urging him to look away, to flee. Instead, he pressed forward, driven by an impulse he didn't quite understand, a need to protect that which everyone else feared, and just then, another scream shattered the tense atmosphere. This one was closer, sharper, and vividly real. David spun around to witness a scene unfolding that made his skin crawl. The figure of a man collapsed on the ground, clutching his chest, face distorted in frozen agony. Eyes bulging, he gasped for air as if life itself were being siphoned from him. A murmur rippled through the crowd, mixing horror with morbid fascination. Was this simply a heart attack, or was it something deeper, something sinister lurking in the night? As the crowd surged back, afraid to confront the horror, David felt a wild urge to move closer. Instinct guiding him, he knelt beside the fallen man. "Can you hear me? What happened?" His hands trembled, hovering just above the man's body. "Edna, don't let her." With that last breath, the man's body fell limp. A cold dread settled deep in David's stomach. The words echoed ominously in his mind. What had the man seen? What connection did he have with Edna? Questions began to flood him, suffocating as he sought answers through the rising panic. Behind him, Edna had retreated further into the shadows, her silhouette merging with the darkness, a haunting figure caught between night and day. He turned to her, desperate, confusion pulling at him. "What is happening, Edna? What is going on?" But she only shook her head, a grim smile breaking through the turmoil, one that was far more chilling than reassuring. "You don't want to know." Terror surged through David. He had stepped into something that required more than understanding. It was a labyrinth of secrets that twisted into unknown fears. Slowly, he backed away, every instinct urging him to run, but he couldn't escape the magnetic pull of Edna's gaze, the swirl of mystery in her depths. Then, sharp laughter cut through the tension, and from a distance, a figure emerged from the dark corners of the gathering crowd. Someone who wasn't supposed to be there. Someone who could unravel everything. "Isn't it beautiful, Edna?" they called out, voice smooth and sinister. How secrets can haunt those who think they know the truth. David's heart raced. What had he awakened? What did he really know about Edna? What horror awaited him in the shadows of her world? The night stretched before him, dark and filled with looming dread, and the chilling truth whispered just out of reach. The figure stepped closer, their face shrouded in the dim light of the lantern surrounding the square. David's heart pounded as he strained to see, the deep sense of dread anchoring him to the spot. Was it a nightmare? Or was he fully awake, caught in this dark riddle? "Who are you?" David demanded, his voice trembling but defiant. The crowd hushed, in morbid curiosity, like an audience waiting for a drama to unfold. The stranger stepped forward, illuminating themselves under the glow of a street lamp. It was a woman, her features sharp, her eyes glinting like polished stones. "You're braver than most," she said, glancing knowingly at Edna. "You're the only one willing to confront the truth." Edna turned to meet David's gaze. The flicker of recognition crossed her face. This was someone from her past. Panic clawed at David's insides. What was their connection? What links tied them together in this chilling tableau? "You think you know her, don't you?" the woman taunted, her voice dripping with mock sincerity. "But you've only scratched the surface." She slowed her words, each syllable weighing heavy in the air. "You don't know the darkness that festers beneath her skin. You don't know what she can unleash." David felt his chest tighten. "Stop playing games." A part of him demanded she cease her attack, but the other part was wide-eyed, craving the secrets she held. "What do you mean?" "Edna was never meant to be loved," the woman continued, her tone dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "They say these gifts come at a price. Have you asked her what she has sacrificed to be here with you? Or how many lives were taken to save her own?" Every word felt like a dagger stabbing into David's heart. He turned to Edna with desperation. "Is this true? What does she mean?" Edna wavered, her eyes darting between David and the strange woman, anguish flickering in her gaze. But the moment of honesty was swallowed by shadows. "You wouldn't understand," she murmured, pain lacing her voice. "You might despise the truth, but it can set you free." The woman laughed, a chilling sound that cut through the suffocating tension. "But freedom can also be a curse." "Know this, David," she said, leaning in closer while keeping her eyes fixated on Edna, "what you choose to ignore can lead to your destruction. The ugly truth is often more beautiful than the sweet lies." David's head spun. His thoughts raced. It was as if he stood at a precipice, the abyss yawning beneath, begging him to leap deep into the unknown. Fear clawed at his throat. This wasn't just a night of chaos, it was a night of unearthing terrible secrets that could change everything. As he looked back at Edna, he saw vulnerability shining through the shadows, but also a fierce resolve. "I need to know," he whispered, the weight of the secrets heavy between them. "I can't keep going on like this." But before Edna could respond, a sudden commotion erupted behind them. Shouts tore through the night, a fresh panic unfolding as a figure rushed towards them, eyes wide with terror. "David! Edna! You have to!" The warning was drowned out as the crowd erupted into a frenzy. David turned, his heart thudding louder than ever. The truth was slipping through his fingers, and whatever awaited him in the depths of the darkness was still lurking, hungry for more. His breath hitched as the world spun, pulling him and Edna closer to the edge of discovery. "What are we up against?" he cried out, desperate for answers as night deepened around them, but in the thrumming chaos, one question rang loudest above all: would knowing the truth bring them salvation or lead them to the very brink of damnation? The scream tore through the chaos, a raw edge of panic that felt electrifying in the air. David whipped around, adrenaline surging through his veins. A man staggered into view, wild-eyed, his clothes torn and caked with dirt as if he had just clawed his way out of hell itself. "Get back!" the man yelled, flailing his arms, and the crowd recoiled in horror. Gasps rippled through the throng, confusion mingling with fear. "What happened?" David shouted, forcing his way forward, his eyes darting to Edna, who had gone pale, her eyes wide, almost vacant. It's coming!" the man shouted, his voice cracking like ice breaking apart. "You have to run. It's not safe here." Everyone seemed to freeze, the weight of dread pressing down. David felt the ground shift beneath him as the reality of the man's words sank in. What was coming? He fought to keep his composure, defiance digging deep within him. "What are you talking about?" The man's chest heaved, panic overtaking any coherence. "The curse. The legend, it's true." "Edna, stop." Edna burst out, her voice breaking through the chaos like a lifeline. She stepped toward the man, desperation etched across her features. "You don't know what you're saying." But he was relentless, eyes wide with terror. "It's in the shadows. It's been waiting for her, Edna. You have to remember." The crowd stirred, murmurs of disbelief whispered between the hesitant faces, caught between the allure of the unknown and the primal urge to flee. David's stomach churned. He turned back to Edna, searching for any sign of reassurance, but all he found was a flicker of fear buried beneath her bravado. "Edna, please. What is he talking about?" he pressed, gripping her shoulders. "What curse?" She sputtered for words, her eyes darting everywhere and nowhere at once. I didn't think it would follow me here. I thought it was buried in my past." "What is?" The question was harsh on David's lips, ridden with the growing urgency of the moment. "What did you bury?" Before she could answer, a loud crash erupted from the darkness at the far end of the square, jolting everyone into a new level of fear. The flickering lanterns cast erratic shadows that danced like specters on the cobblestones. The crowd erupted into a frantic scatter, a stampede of bodies fleeing from something that lingered in the unknown. "David, we can't stay. We need to go." Edna gasped, pulling him toward the edge of the square as panic enveloped them. "No!" he shouted, tearing himself from her grip. "Tell me the truth first. You can't run from this." But before Edna could respond, the shadows shifted, coalescing into a form both terrible and breathtaking. The air turned icy, every person stilled by instincts honed in survival. It was as if the night itself congealed, mixing with the memory of fears long left unspoken. "Edna," David whispered, the weight of the moment crashing onto him like a tidal wave. "What is it? What have you done?" Then, the figure emerged, and it wasn't he alone. Behind it loomed a haze of something darker, a presence that exuded a kind of dread that chilled him to the bone. "Run!" Edna suddenly screamed, eyes locked onto the form, her expression twisted in regret and terror. "Run! I can't let it take you too." But it was too late. They were past the point of retreat, tangled in a web of fate weaved by every choice made. David felt fear choke him, his lungs burning as he stared into the abyss of truth laid bare before him, the weight of their intertwined destinies crushing. "What are we up against?" he yelled, but this time it felt like a prayer. A coarse whisper echoed through the square, chilling him to the core. "You already know." With every breath, the dread grew heavier, the shadows creeping closer, something unspeakable stirring in their depths. David clutched Edna's hand, as they stood on the brink, hearts racing with trepidation. What awaited them in the dark? The answer loomed, thickening the air around them, whispering what David feared most: the truth could be more terrifying than any monster lurking in the shadows, and just like that, he wondered, was this really the beginning of the end, or the end of everything they hoped to protect? Time felt suspended as the looming figure moved through the encroaching shadows, each step dragging desperation behind it. David's heart thundered, drowning out the panicked screams echoing in the square. He gripped Edna's hand tighter, her pulse racing as fear radiated between them like a deadly spark. The silhouette morphed, revealed by the wavering lantern light. It was a woman, but something was irrevocably wrong. Her features were twisted in agony, an eerie smile curling on her lip. Behind her, shadows danced, forming into shapes that writhed at the periphery of David's vision. "Edna!" David shouted, shaking her. "What do we do?" "I don't know," she gasped, as sweat beaded on her brow. "We have to think." "Think?" But there was a wildness in her eyes, an ominous hint that whatever haunted her past was unshackling its grip. The woman, too, felt like a ghost, an echo of choices long buried. Her voice rang out into the night, chillingly familiar: "Edna, you left me behind." Edna's face paled further, and David felt her trembling. "It can't be, it shouldn't be possible." "Who is she?" he asked, fear gnawing at him. "What the hell is happening?" "Please." Edna's voice was barely a whisper, yet filled with despair. "I thought it had happened in another time, another place. Stop talking in riddles. I need to understand." The woman advanced, malevolence swelling in the air like a thick fog. The crowd had retreated to the edges of the square, eyes wide, paralyzed by fear. David could feel a collective breath held, hearts racing as they beheld the terrible play unfolding before them. "Your choice led to my demise," the apparition crooned, her eyes glistening with curses long past. "You and your selfishness. I did what I had to do. You don't understand." Edna's voice broke with the weight of truth buried deep. "I had to save us. I couldn't let it consume me." Drifting closer, the figure's smile stretched unnaturally wide. "And you thought you could escape the monster you became?" Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, each passing second a noose tightening around David's neck. "Edna, what are you talking about? What did you do?" The panic in Edna's eyes flickered with a memory too painful to bear. "I made a choice to save myself, but it meant losing her." Suddenly the ground shook beneath them, a low rumble resonating with the intensity of buried secrets coming to life. A rift split open in the darkness, tendrils of shadow lashing out like hungry vipers, grasping toward Edna as if they could drag her back into a past she desperately wanted to forget. In that moment, realization ignited David's chest. "You sacrificed her. You left her behind." Edna's eyes widened in horror. "I didn't think she would follow me. I thought." Before she could finish, a scream pierced the air. The woman lunged, a mirror of Edna's own face twisted in rage and sorrow. "You think you can run from your own darkness? It always finds you. Time fractured as chaos ensued, shadows engulfed the square, and the crowd erupted in terror. David, disconnected from reality, felt the world spin while he wrestled with the truth he had just unearthed. "Edna! We can't let it take you!" he shouted as he pulled her close. But the woman was relentless, mocking, her laughter echoing off the cobblestones. "Will you hide behind your choices? Or will you face what you've unleashed?" David's grip on Edna sharpened with determination. Their past had become a weapon against them, and the remnants of sadness and betrayal clung to the air like smoke. "Whatever it takes, I'm not leaving your side," he vowed, staring defiantly at the terror unfolding before them. And in that moment, as darkness threatened to suffocate them, David understood they needed to confront whatever haunted Edna's past or be consumed by it together. What would be left if they couldn't? Would they be swallowed whole by the very fears they thought they could escape? With unrelenting shadows closing in, Edna's whisper grazed his ear, shaking him to the core. "You don't know what you're asking for, but we have to face it together." A chilling silence fell, wrapping around them like a shroud, and David realized they were standing at the precipice of something far worse than he had ever imagined. What awaited them in the darkness was inseparable from their souls, a truth bound to reshape everything they thought they understood. How could they confront something so deeply entangled with their spirits? And would their choice lead to freedom or demise? The darkness folded in around them like a thick curtain, clinging to their skin, tightening its grip with every breath. David could barely see Edna's face, but he felt the tremors of her fear coursing through his fingers where he held her hand. The echoes of chaos faded into a heavy silence that pressed against his ears. "David," she whispered, her voice trembling like a feeble leaf in the wind, "we need to confront her. We need to acknowledge what I did." The words hung in the air, heavy and oppressive, weighing down both their hearts. With a nod, David took a tentative step toward the woman. "You have to listen to us." His words felt pointless as they ricocheted off the surrounding walls, swallowed by the void. The figure, a mirror image of Edna's past, stood with an unsettling calm, an eerie smile still etched on her face. "Listen?" the woman taunted, tilting her head. "You have no idea what listening means. You left me to rot in the shadows of your choice. You think it's enough to apologize?" As she spoke, the shadows around her flickered like flame, whispering secrets David couldn't decipher. Edna shivered, her resolve wavering as the spectre's words struck her core. I thought it was for the best. I never wanted this to haunt you." "Haunt her?" David's voice cracked as he registered the magnitude of Edna's confession. "This isn't just about you, Edna. This is about us. Don't you see?" The woman exploded into a fit of laughter, each shriek slicing through the air like a knife. "A noble savior you think you are, David. But could you face your own truth if it meant losing her completely?" She gestured toward the rift that continued to pulse with dark energy, the shadows seeming to reach for them like icy fingers. That he could feel the walls of his mind buckling under the gravity of her question, and for a brief moment, doubt gnawed at him. "What truth is there?" he asked, eyes darting between Edna and the ghostly figure before him. "The truth that our choices are the same shadows you both fear," the woman said, her voice no longer mocking, but filled with deep sorrow. "Every decision leaves a scar, and every scar demands acknowledgement. Do you really believe you can step in and save her without embracing the darkness yourself?" Edna trembled, her breath quickening. "David, what if she's right?" "No." He squeezed her hand tighter, desperation fueling his resolve. "I want to let you face this alone. We'll confront this together." "Together?" the apparition whispered, her smile fading into a darkness that seeped into the ground beneath them. "You both have yet to grasp the full weight of your decisions. You think your love is enough to shield you from the monsters that lurk within?" Suddenly, the shadows writhed violently, and the world around them blurred. David felt his breath hitch in his throat as they plummeted into a haze of old memories, distorted and twisted, memories that felt like they belonged to someone else but echoed with undeniable familiarity. Remember, the voice of the woman echoed through the chaos, true courage lies not in running from your past, but in standing firm against it. David found himself in a dreamscape, surrounded by visions of a life that felt almost real. He saw fleeting glimpses of Edna laughing, but they were interspersed with darker images: haunted eyes, tear-streaked faces, and scarred flesh. He flinched as he acknowledged what this reflected. Could he help Edna confront this and still hold her hand at the end? "Face it with me, Edna," he yelled against the relentless tide carrying them away. Burying it deeper only makes it more powerful. But the darkness unleashed a chorus of wails, flooding their senses and pulling them further apart. Their truth loomed above them, vast and terrifying. As David's grip on Edna began to falter, dread clawed at his insides. Would they be consumed by these memories, or would they emerge stronger, united against their shared fears? A sudden thought tore through him: what if uncovering Edna's truth meant unearthing something he was not ready to face himself, and something deep inside him whispered a question louder than the screams around them: what if the biggest monster lay within himself? The memories twisted around them like a suffocating fog. David could feel the weight of Edna's fear mixing with his own as they were dragged deeper into the murky depths of their shared past. Shadowy figures loomed in the periphery of his vision, glimpses of the decisions they had made, the light of joy fading into darkness. "David. Please." Edna's voice broke through his swirling thoughts, sharp and urgent. She suddenly appeared beside him, eyes wide with terror and desperation. "We have to break free from this." "Break free?" he roared, frustration boiling over. "How do we even know what we're escaping from? Every moment feels like a trap." The laughter was back, echoing in the darkness, clawing at their sanity. "Do you two really think you can simply wish away your past? Your choices are woven into the very fabric of who you are." The specter advanced, her haunting smile now a snarl. "Run if you wish, but know this: you cannot outrun yourselves." Shadows writhed eagerly around her, their forms shifting and writhing like a living thing, hungry to drag them deeper into the abyss. David gritted his teeth, his muscles tensing against the surge of fear. He needed to stay focused. He and Edna had to confront not only the woman before them but the darkness within themselves. "Edna, we must confront it," he shouted, hoping his voice could pierce through the fear enveloping them. "Whatever we face it together." "Together," Edna echoed, her voice trembling, but laced with a spark of determination. "You're right. We can't back down now." But as she spoke, the warmth of her spirit flickered like a dying ember, and he could feel her wavering resolve. The ghostly figure lunged forward, and David felt a chilling dread seep into his bones. "What do you want from us?" he shouted, his voice breaking. "Tell us what we must do." "Face the truth that has been buried," she replied, her voice like ice. "Only then can you begin to heal. The darkness you run from is inextricably linked to your very hearts." Suddenly, images flashed around them, scenes of loss, betrayal, and regret. Edna, smaller in younger years, standing alone in a storm. David, somewhere else, his own mistakes flickering like flames. Decisions made that would haunt them. The line between their worlds shattered into fragments, surrounding them like broken mirrors. "David!" Edna screamed as their fingers slipped further apart. "Don't let go. We have to face it together or be lost forever." The rift between them surged, shadows reaching out eagerly, hungry for the fear that pulsed in their chests. Memories clawed at David's mind, the choices that had brought them here, the memories they had buried. Could they really confront what they had done without losing everything? His heart raced as he felt a growing sense of urgency. "I can't lose you, Edna," he yelled, clenching his fists, tears of frustration welling in his eyes. "We are stronger than this darkness. We're stronger together." She hesitated, eyes locked onto his, searching for something, hope or maybe the courage they both lacked. The figure around them twisted in anger, shadows swirling faster, a storm of rage and malice bearing down on them. "Do you dare challenge the truth?" the woman hissed, her form distorted and monstrous. "Embrace it, or be consumed." The choice hung in the air, a blade poised to cut them apart or bring them closer together. Would they remain lost in their darkness, or would they find the courage to step forward into the light of truth? As fear squeezed his heart, David took a deep breath, ready to break the chains binding them. "Edna! Are you with me?" He reached for her again, heart pounding as the shadows moved closer, as if sensing their moment of hesitation. "We can't let this consume us." Edna called back, but in her voice, he heard an inkling of doubt. Was she ready to face the truth? The ground beneath them trembled, and an impending storm loomed. The bravest choice lay before them, yet the shadows whispered their fears. Each heartbeat echoed their uncertainty. The moment for action was slipping away, and he had to act fast. "Trust me," he urged, the words heavy with desperation. But just as their fingers met again, a terrible howling surged through the void, an anguished cry that sent a chill down their spines. What if confronting the truth only ripped them apart? The shadows grinned wider, and in that split second of connection, David felt the weight of 1,000 decisions tumble around them, daring them to either embrace their past or let it consume them forever. The world swirled around them, anticipating their choice, what lay ahead, the truth or their undoing. A tempest unleashed its fury as David's heart raced. The moment stretched, a fragile thread danced in a whirlwind of desperation and darkness. Shadows snarled, hungry and eager for their failure. Would he have the strength to hold on to Edna? "Don't let go, David!" she screamed, her voice laced with both fear and determination. They could feel the weight of the specter between them. The air grew thick, heavy with unspoken truths and hidden regrets. David tightened his grip. He could see her fear mirrored back in her eyes, that flicker of doubt that threatened to extinguish their last glimmer of hope. The taunting laughter swelled, crescendoing above the gales encircling them. "You think you can confront the darkness? It's far too deep, far too vast for the likes of you," the ghostly figure mocked, her voice biting and cruel. "What awaits you is the truth you've always feared." He felt it, that truth, creeping through the cracks of his mind. A bitter taste flooded his senses as memories clawed at him, faces and choices that splintered his soul. But he couldn't ignore Edna's presence, the warmth of her hand sending flickers of light through the shadows. "I won't lose you to this," he shouted, desperation fueling his resolve. "We'll face it together." The roiling darkness around them seized like the lash of a whip, striking with icy tendrils that snared his ankles. David stumbled, but Edna's hand clutched tighter. Together they braced against the onslaught, their bond acting as a shield against the darkness threatening to consume them. Then, suddenly, it was there, the truth, raw and unadulterated, forced into view like a flash of lightning. David's heart sunk as he saw it unfold, his betrayal, seeping like a poisonous fog. The faces of those he had hurt rose before him, his brother, his friends. Edna's own shattered dreams blasted forth into his mind, each a shard of guilt he could no longer bear. "David!" Edna's voice broke through the chaos, drawing him back from the abyss. "You have to let it go. Let the past rest, or it will drown us both." But the haunting specter loomed larger now, invigorated by David's inner turmoil. "Dare you reject your past? It's the very essence of your being, the reason you're confined to this place." Her cackling laughter echoed in the void, twisting its cruel grip around David's throat. "Face it. Embrace what you are." The shadows howled, and in their howls, he heard the cacophony of all his failures. "I can't," he gasped. A tremor ran through him, but he could feel Edna pulling him back. "I refuse to let it control me. David. Remember what we talked about. We're not alone. We've always had each other." Her voice, a thread of hope weaving through despair, ignited something deep within him. With a surge of will, he fought against the tide of sorrow. I'm not my past. I'm more than just the mistakes I made. The ground shifted, the shadows hissing in response to his defiance. You think you can break free? You can only fool yourself, the specter screeched as darkness loomed closer, and then, from the corners of his mind, a memory surfaced. A moment, long buried, where everything had changed, the choice he made and how it had fractured his path. David gasped as the truth revealed itself like a knife. Edna, he whispered, the realization washing over him like cold water. The lies we told ourselves, the hurt we've been running from, it led us here. We have to confront it head on. With newfound strength, he pulled Edna closer, ready to face their reality together. But just as victory felt within their grasp, the shadows erupted. A scream tore through the darkness, a warning echoing from deep within. Embrace the truth, the specter hissed, her features distorting into a grotesque parody of their fears. Or suffer for eternity. The tempest roared around them. Could they find salvation? Were they truly ready to unveil the secrets of their past? As David's breath quickened, he felt an icy grip tighten on his heart, and the looming shadows waited, eager to feast on their hesitations. Would they step into the truth, or would the darkness drag them both under? The darkness writhed and buzzed, a living entity hungry for their despair. David could feel it, clawing at him, trying to coax him back into the depth of his own making. But Edna, her hands steady, her resolve unwavering, anchored him. Look at me, David. Just look at me. She insisted, her voice cutting through the haze like a knife. The shadows hissed, recoiling at the strength of her plea. He turned to meet her gaze, the fierce light in her eyes igniting a spark within him. What if we're unable to escape this? He stammered, doubt seeping into his voice. The specter danced closer, its malicious grin expanding with every ounce of fear that escaped his lips. Oh, we'll escape, but you have to trust me, Edna urged, the fierceness in her tone cascading over the bitterness swirling in his thoughts. We can't let the past define us. It's time to confront it. It was a battle won between light and dark, between despair and hope. David felt the abyss beckoning, whispering secrets of shame and regret. The specter thrived off his hesitations, its form shifting grotesquely, morphing into faces of his past, those he'd walked away from, leaving behind broken dreams and shattered promises. Do you love her more than the truth? The specter sneered, twisting Edna's image into a distorted reflection of doubt. Will you choose the girl you chose, or the one you abandoned? David's pulse quickened. Pain tore through him. He could almost hear the whispers of ghostly echoes revealing secrets he wished to suppress, the choice he had made all those years ago, the path taken, and the sister left behind. No! He shouted, shaking his head as if to dispel the visions. I chose love, Edna, you know this. Do I? The specter cackled, the sound ricocheting off the walls of torment surrounding them. You chose one sister over another. You thought you could bury the past and protect Edna from the fallout. But the truth is, it will always surface. Her form loomed, casting a shadow that seemed to black out the very essence of the light that Edna emitted. David doubled over, clutching his temples as the memories came crashing down like waves, an emotional tide he couldn't escape. What had he done? He had thought love would shield her, but had he only shielded himself from the consequences? How could he face Edna knowing the truth they were avoiding? David. Focus. Edna's hand tightened around his, breaking through the spiraling chaos. He looked up, his eyes connecting with hers. The storm raged around them, but she stood unwavering, the anchor of his confused heart. We can't allow this monster to suffocate our love, she declared, voice steady despite the tempest. You and I must confront what you've buried. It's only together that we'll break free. He felt his breath hitch, heart racing as he realized the depth of their bond. Together, he echoed, feeling a flicker of hope spark deep within. The specter lunged at him, hissing. This isn't over, your past is alive, it's waiting for you. With a roar of defiance, David found his footing. This wasn't just about choosing between Edna and the haunting memories. It was about reclaiming who he was, understanding every part that made him whole, good and bad, light and shadow. "Let us do this, Edna. Together," he yelled, channeling all that he had into their shared strength. The murmurs of the past faded for a moment, replaced by a resolute buffer formed by their joined spirits. The shadows recoiled, stunned by their unity. But just as he felt the tide turn, an earth-shattering scream echoed, one that felt all too familiar, sending chills down his spine. "David, you can't escape the truth forever." It was the voice of the sister he left behind, a specter of haunting regret that shattered their moment. As the wind howled, rage and despair intertwined, David stood poised between dread and determination. In that instant, he realized it wasn't just the specters surrounding him that he had to confront. The truth lay in the echoes, in the past that refused to be silenced. Would they break past the encroaching darkness, or would the sins of yesterday pull them into an everlasting night? The answer loomed ahead as the storm intensified, sending whispers of fate down a path he never wanted to tread. The darkness writhed and the air thickened, heavy with despair as David and Edna faced the specter of truth, their hearts pounding in unison. The shadowy figure, ghostly and twisted, loomed large, piercing their resolve with every mocking word that slithered from its lips. David felt a tightness in his chest, the weight of his past choices pressing down like a vice. "Face it," the specter hissed, its voice a haunting echo of regret. "You both think love will save you, but how can it when the truth lies buried beneath layers of lies and guilt?" "Shut up," David shouted, shaking with anger and fear. Every echo felt personal, a haunting reminder of sins long past. Behind him, the crowd had retreated, waiting in uneasy silence. Their eyes reflected a mix of fear and uneasy curiosity, making him feel like a character in a grotesque play. But David had to fight. He had to confront the truth, not just for himself, but for Edna, who stood beside him, fear swirling in her eyes but courage shining through. Together, he murmured, locking eyes with her. They crafted a bond from resolve, believing they could endure whatever darkness lay ahead. "What you did to her. You're responsible," the specter shrieked. It twisted, ethereal fingers reaching across the divide. "You chose one sister to save yourself and left the other in agony. Are you prepared to face her?" It was a taunt and a revelation rolled into one. David swallowed hard, the memories flooding back, faces he had turned away from, choices made thoughtlessly in his youth. Choices that had doused Edna's light, choices that haunted his every thought. Each sentence sliced through him like glass, leaving behind wounds that festered with regret. "I didn't want to hurt anyone," he yelled, desperation overcoming shame. "I thought I was protecting you." But even as he spoke, clarity hit like a tidal wave. His protection had turned into chains, shackling Edna to a past that wasn't hers to carry alone. He looked at her, saw the understanding flicker in her gaze, and heartache transformed into determination. "Edna, I can't undo the past, but I won't let it destroy us." The specter sneered as shadows curled around, forming grotesque shapes that whispered accusations. It revolted in delight, circling them both, building the tension to unimaginable heights. "You think you can stand against the truth? You cannot escape your fate." "Maybe we can't escape it," Edna spoke up, voice steady, grounding David. He watched the fear fade from her features as she squared her shoulders. "But we can face it together. I will not let it define us. I choose to break the cycle." In that moment, a shared heartbeat, their unity became a beacon in the encroaching darkness. As they stood shoulder to shoulder, strength flooded their veins. Each word exchanged wasn't just a statement, it was a pact forged in trust and love. The specter faltered, hesitating as if their bond had pierced through the veil of its power. "What will you do?" it taunted. "You hold responsibility. Can you rewrite your history?" "Yes," they shouted in unison, a declaration resonating through the night. The shadows rippled and recoiled, revealing the truth, the regrets, the loss. "We will embrace it." David's voice rang with a fierce clarity. We both have scars. I accept my part. And I accept mine. Edna added, courage flowing bright within her. Tendrils of darkness writhed violently, reacting to the unwavering strength in their words. David squeezed Edna's hand tighter, feeling the magic in their bond surge like a wave. It was more than just a choice, it was a rebirth, the dawning of acceptance washing over them. Step into the light. David urged, and as they stepped forward together, the weight of their past began to lift. The specter faded, its twisted face contorting into rage, its form dissolving as it was shoved back by the power of love and acceptance. Leave us. Edna commanded, voice strong, fierce as a storm. We choose to lift the shadow from our hearts. With each step, shadows retreated until they were swallowed by the brightness of their resolution. Silence fell in the square, the crowd's collective breath held, unsure of what unfolded. David turned to Edna, their hearts steady, nestled in shared strength. We did it, he murmured, awed by the light between them. We faced it together. Edna smiled, a soft broken laugh emerging from her lips as tears of relief streamed down her cheeks. We found the beauty in our pain. They clasped hands, still radiant with hope, knowing the journey wasn't over, but they were no longer shackled by the past. The weight lifted, a lightness replacing the suffocating dread. As they turned to face the townsfolk, David felt an overwhelming urge to share their story, to inspire because darkness couldn't drown love and understanding. Thank you for giving us your trust, David said, voice steady as he addressed the crowd. Let this teach us all that shadows don't define us. Choosing love opens up a path to healing. And they all began to clap, an eruption of support, cautious at first, followed by an overwhelming wave of acceptance that surged through the crowd. With eyes locked onto Edna, David felt the warmth of possibility expand until it suffused the very air around them. They had risen together, woven free from the specters of their past, a mighty embrace of acceptance that relished in the power of truth, an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of their collective fears. With a newfound brightness, they took a step into the light of the dawn. Together, now, don't just step away after this epic conclusion. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss more exclusive stories like this one. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Let us show everyone how much our tale touched your hearts. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Let's keep the love alive.